On the day my wife's first love got married, she snapped. She walked up the aisle with a knife. She stabbed him. Again, and again, and again. Then she cut her own throat. I was standing in the crowd. I couldn't move. 5 years I loved that woman. 5 years. And she'd never loved me back. Not for a second. Her heart had always been parked somewhere else. So when I woke up at the start of it all over again, she didn't hesitate. She threw me out like a bag of trash and went running after him. I figured that was it. 2 roads, different directions, done. I was wrong. 6 years later I ran into her at the Grand Plaza Mall. She was floating around as the wife of the general manager, Derek Vance. He was doing a walkthrough. She was on his arm. She spotted me and her lip curled. Following me now, Ethan? Let's get one thing straight. I'm married. You and me are ancient history. Get over it. I didn't bother answering. I turned toward the baby aisle to grab diapers for my daughter. She came after me, ripped the pack out of my hands, slammed it on the floor, ground it under her heel. You've got a wife? A kid? You swore up and down you'd never marry anybody but me. You liar. Running into Chloe at Grand Plaza was the last thing I saw coming. She had both hands wrapped around Derek's arm while he made his rounds through the luxury shops, and every associate on the floor was falling over herself to get to her first. Mrs. Vance, this one just came in. Limited edition. If you like it, I can do 20% off for you. Just make sure our brand gets the front spot next season, Chloe said, doing her best manager's wife voice. Absolutely. And that diamond necklace you asked about, I put it aside for you. Derek glanced at the case and nodded. Take it. It'll look perfect on you at the engagement party next week. Engagement party? I see you two together all the time. I thought you were already married. Chloe's smile froze on her face. The girl caught herself and scrambled. Oh, I only meant you look so good together, like an old married couple. I couldn't help it. I laughed, quiet and short. In our last life, Chloe went completely off the rails when she found out Derek was marrying someone else. She crashed his wedding, put a knife through him a dozen times, and then killed herself so she could follow him out. I never understood it. If she loved him that much, how did they ever break up in the first place? And then we came back, and she dumped me inside of a week to go chase her happy ending. Yet here we were, 6 years down the line, and they still weren't married. They were just now getting engaged. Derek's been so focused on his career these last few years, Chloe said, gazing up at him like he hung the moon. He's asked me to marry him more times than I can count, but he's on his way up. I wasn't going to let my happiness slow him down. Wow. She really knew how to play the good woman behind the great man. Back when she was with me, all she ever did was look down her nose and remind me I was broke. Turns out she wasn't short on kindness. She was just short on love for me. I dropped my eyes, cut her out of my field of vision entirely, and headed for the baby store. Ethan, what are you doing here? Her voice came at my back like a nail on glass. I stopped, turned. She was standing there glaring at me. The salesgirl looked between us. Is this gentleman a friend of yours, Chloe? If he's shopping, we can extend the discount to him too. Chloe smirked. A friend? Please. He's a broke ex of mine. He couldn't afford $100 necklace back then. There's nothing in this mall he can pay for. An ex? The girl shot a nervous look at Derek. Derek didn't seem to mind at all. He pulled Chloe in against his hip and looked at me like a king surveying a ditch. Did you check a price tag on your way in? Save yourself the embarrassment when you find out you can't afford a keychain. What I can and can't afford is none of your business, I said. Chloe's face went tight. If you're that hard up, maybe I'll throw a little charity your way. Or wait, did you hear about my engagement and come here on purpose? Derek stepped up next to her and gave me a slow once-over. Ethan, Chloe told me how you used to hound her. I figured she was being nice about it. Turns out you really are a creep. You had her and you didn't take care of her. Now she's marrying me and it's eating you alive, huh? His face was going red. He looked like a guy hunting for a reason to swing. The only thing holding him back was Chloe's hand on his. Ethan, I told you when we split. There's no version of this where we happen. Why can't you let me go? I know you're broke. I know it stings watching me do well, but this is just sad. Derek scoffed. Grown man with no skills trying to mooch off his ex. Pathetic. Look at what you've got on. Not one label on you. I glanced down at my suit. Bespoke Italian, cut by hand, the only one of its kind on earth. A mall manager clearly didn't have the eye for it. He took my silence for defeat. He pulled out his wallet, peeled off a few bills, and slapped them against my chest. They fluttered to the floor. That'll cover your groceries for the month. Now get lost. Hundreds, scattered across the tile. Chloe smirked. What, not enough? She glanced into her empty designer clutch. Nobody carries cash anymore. How about I send it to you instead? 10 grand sound good? That's probably more than you can scrape together in 2 years of manual labor. I said nothing. She pulled out her phone, opened Snapchat, and hit send. Ethan. She shoved the phone in my face, loud enough to turn half the floor. You blocked me? I found the outrage genuinely funny. Isn't blocking your ex just standard housekeeping after a breakup? Besides, I had a family now. Audrey's been through things that left her a little fragile, and keeping an ex on my phone would have been asking for trouble I didn't need. Why wouldn't I block you? We broke up years ago. There's nothing left to say. The smug slid right off her face. Nothing to say? She said through her teeth. I nodded. It's been 6 years, Chloe. Keep your money. I don't want a dime of it. That made her look worse, somehow. Ethan, who do you think you're fooling? Play the big shot all you want. I know exactly how broke you are. Do you even know who my fiancé is? He runs this entire mall, and this mall belongs to Summit Enterprises. Don't embarrass yourself. Derek grinned and puffed out his chest. Chloe, why are you even talking to him? Guy like this has probably never heard of Summit. He's going to die at the bottom of the food chain. I looked at him standing there, so pleased with himself. He seemed to have forgotten how he got that GM chair in the first place. Derek used to be a nobody in a cubicle at Summit. No talent, endless mouth. He liked to tell people he was the company's rising star and the whole place would fold without him. Chloe's parents were college professors, sharp, decent people, and they saw through him in about 10 minutes. They couldn't stand him, but that cheap charm of his worked like a spell on a girl who didn't know better, and she wouldn't leave him. It took her parents threatening to end their own lives to get her to walk away. She was a shell for months after. I was the one who sat up with her night after night, gluing the pieces back together. We ended up together. That's how it goes. Then, while we were dating, my business proposals started disappearing off my laptop, and Derek's career at Summit took off like somebody lit a fuse under it. I brought it up to to her more than once. She called it a coincidence every time. Once she said yes to marrying me, I let it drop. I thought marriage would settle her. Then she heard Derek was marrying someone else, and there was nothing left of her to settle. She killed him and died for him. That's not love. That's something with teeth. So when we came back, the first thing she did was cut me loose. She took my proposals, the ones I hadn't even written yet, out of her memory, and handed them to Derek to climb on. The second she asked for the breakup, I said yes. No pause. Because I couldn't have stopped her. And honestly, I didn't want to. I just never planned on this. The two of us, in a mall, over diapers. Look, how I live is not your business. Now move. I've got shopping to do. Derek stepped in front of me. What's the matter? Called out. So now you run? Then following her around hoping she'd feel bad and toss you a bone? The associates nearby had already decided who the villain was, and they weren't quiet about it. Derek was enjoying his audience. Tell you what, you're Chloe's ex, so promise you'll never bother us again and I'll pull a few strings, get you a job here in the mall. Somebody behind him said Mr. Vance was too generous for this world, and the rest of them agreed. My phone buzzed. A message from my wife. Babe, didn't I ask you to grab diapers from our mall? What's taking so long? Before I could type a word, Chloe snatched the phone out of my hand and threw it at the marble. Crack. Ethan, are you listening to us at all? Derek is offering you a job. You should be on your knees. People would kill for this. I looked at the pieces on the floor. I don't need a job and I don't need his charity, but you're paying for that phone. She laughed, crying over a cheap phone. What could it possibly cost? Are you out of work and too proud to take help? Relax. We'd only put you on dishes or mopping anyway. You don't have to feel bad about it. She was so sure I was asking for money because I was broke. What she didn't know was that I own this mall. When Audrey took over as CEO of Summit, the board came for her throat, so I took the mall, the dead weight, the money pit, and turned it around, and that's what kept her seat under her. She's left the whole operation to me ever since. I'm asking because you broke it. That's called paying for what you break. It's got nothing to do with my bank account. I didn't have the energy to explain further. Even if I'd told her I owned the building we were standing in, she'd have called it a lie. In her head I would always be worth less than Derek. Like a rich man would cry over a phone. She sneered. Is that right? I stepped in, reached into her pocket, took her phone, and dropped it on the marble. Smash. The whole floor sucked in a breath at once. You're so rich. So a phone's nothing to you, right? Her face went red, then something close to green. Ethan, are you doing this on purpose? Is my phone the same as that piece of garbage of yours? I just got it. It's the newest iPhone. $1,500. $1,500's pocket change to you. You wouldn't hold a grudge over pocket change, would you, Chloe? She looked around at the girls watching, her jaw locked. She forced out a smile. Of course not. I'm not like you, counting pennies. Perfect. You don't mind. I do. I'm the broke one, remember? You still owe me for mine. The smile fell off her face. Ethan, I have never met anyone this shameless in my life. You smashed my phone and you still want me to pay you? Dream on. You said you didn't care about the money. I never said that. Her chest was going like a bellows and nothing was coming out of her mouth. Fine, it's a phone. I'll pay you. But mine's broken, so I'll send it once I get a new one. I nodded. Great. Same number as always. Don't forget. I crouched, picked up what was left of my phone, and turned to go. Behind me, she started laughing. I knew it. You broke my phone so you'd have an excuse to get my Snapchat back. If you wanted my number, you could have just asked. Why play games? And you kept the same number all these years. Were you waiting for me to come back? Derek's face went black. He stepped up and shouted, Ethan, I'm telling you right now, you and Chloe are done. Don't even dream about it. You come after our life and I'll make you sorry. Do I need anything from you? I'll say it one more time. Chloe and I broke up. There is nothing between us and there never will be again. Everything coming out of her mouth is happening inside her own head. Today was an accident. Don't worry. The second the money hits, I'm blocking her again. Your marriage is safe from me. I stopped and looked him dead in the eye. Are you warning me because you're scared she'll fall for me again? Or because somewhere in there you know you're the lesser man? Bullshit. Derek's face twisted. Lesser man? Then why'd she pick me and not you? He looked one word away from swinging. Chloe grabbed his arm fast. Baby, don't let him get to you. He's provoking you. He isn't worth your little finger. I picked you. I'll always pick you. Nobody could ever take your place. Derek's chest inflated again and his face smoothed right out. I didn't even roll my eyes. I walked past them into the baby store. She followed me in. I was reading labels on formula when she got to me. She tore the pack out of my hand, threw it down, stomped on it. Ethan, you turned down a real job and then you buy diapers? What are you now? Somebody's Manny? Look what you've turned into. I'm warning you. Talk to Derek like that again and you'll regret it. You're the one who started this whole conversation, I said. Before she could fire back, a clerk stepped in. Mr. Carter, your wife sent me over. She's asking if you've got everything. Chloe went still. Her eyes went wide. What did you just call him? Mr. Carter?
Mr. Carter, the clerk repeated, looking confused by Chloe's violent reaction. Is there something wrong, ma'am? Mr. Carter is the principal owner of the Grand Plaza Development Group and husband to Mrs. Audrey Vance, well, formerly Vance, now Carter, CEO of Summit Enterprises. Chloe's jaw dropped so fast it looked painful. She stared at me, then at the clerk and back to me. Principal? Owner? No, that's impossible. Ethan, who did you pay to say that? Did you hire this girl? Before I could answer, Derek strutted into the store with 2 security guards in tow. His face was flushed with power. There he is. Guards, remove this man from the premises for harassing my fiancée and destroying property. Security guards stepped forward, but the store manager rushed out from the back room looking pale as a sheet. Stop, what are you doing? I'm the general manager of this mall, Derek barked, puffing out his chest. I'm kicking out a nuisance. You were the general manager, a icy, calm voice echoed from the store entrance. Everyone turned. Audrey walked in, pushing our daughter's stroller. She was wearing a tailored charcoal suit, her high heels clicking rhythmically on the marble floor. Behind her stood 3 men in dark suits, Summit Enterprises chief legal counsel and head of corporate security. Derek blinked, his smug grin faltering. Mrs. Carter, CEO Carter, what are you doing here? Audrey didn't even look at Derek. She walked right up to me, reached out and straightened my collar. Babe, what took so long? Lily was getting restless in the play area. Ran into a couple of speed bumps, I said, handing her the crushed box of diapers Chloe had stomped on. And someone owes me for a broken phone. Audrey took the crushed box, her eyes turning cold as steel as she finally turned her gaze to Derek and Chloe. Derek Vance, you have 5 minutes to clean out your desk. Clean out my desk. Derek gasped, a nervous laugh escaping his lips. Mrs. Carter, wait, there's a misunderstanding. This guy, Ethan, he's an imposter. He's been stalking my fiancé. He used to be her broke ex. Derek, Audrey said smoothly, taking a folder from her executive assistant. Ethan doesn't need to stalk your fiancé. He owns 40% of Summit Enterprises voting shares and personally bought the debt to this mal 3 years ago when it was bankrupt. He appointed the board that hired you. Chloe stood frozen, her eyes wide with terror as the math slowly worked itself out in her brain. Ethan owns the mal. He owns the mal, the land under it, and the company that pays your fiancé's salary, Audrey replied cleanly. She opened the folder. Which brings me to my next point. 3 weeks ago, our internal audit team noticed a series of identical proposals submitted under your name, Derek, dating back 6 years. Derek's face went from red to chalk white in less than a second. Interesting thing about digital file metadata, I chimed in, leaning against a display case. When you copy an encrypted file from a personal laptop, the original author's timestamp remains buried in the deep header, even if you change the file name to Derek Vance's original proposal. Chloe looked at Derek, her voice shaking. Derek, what is she talking about? It's a mistake, Derek yelled, sweat breaking out across his forehead. I wrote those expansion strategies. I built my career on them. No, I said, walking closer to him until I was looking down into his panic-stricken eyes. You built your career on the proposals Chloe stole off my computer 6 years ago while I was making her breakfast. You didn't have an original thought in your head then, and you don't have one now. Chloe, Derek snapped, turning on her like a cornered dog. Did you steal these? Did you lie to me? I gave them to you to help you. Chloe stammered, her voice high and desperate. You said you needed a break. You said if you got the promotion, we could be together. You ruined me. Derek screamed at her, completely forgetting where he was. You gave me stolen corporate documents. Quiet, Audrey ordered, her tone cutting through the shouting like a blade. Derek Vance, as of this moment, you are terminated for corporate espionage, intellectual property theft, and gross misconduct. Security, escort Mr. Vance to his office to pack his personal belongings under supervision, then escort him off the property. You can't do this, Derek shrieked as the 2 security guards, who realized very quickly who actually signed their paychecks, grabbed him by both arms. I'm the GM, I'll sue. Sue with what? Summit's chief legal counsel stepped forward, handing Derek a document. This is a formal freeze on all your stock options and accrued bonuses pending our criminal investigation. We are filing charges with the district attorney before 5 o'clock. Security guards dragged Derek out of the store, his screams echoing down the high-end shopping corridor for every associate and shopper to hear. The salesgirls who had been groveling to Chloe minutes earlier shrank back, staring at the floor in silence. Chloe was left standing in the middle of the store, utterly alone. She looked at me, her lower lip trembling. The haughty, arrogant manager's wife act had vanished completely. Ethan, she whispered, taking a cautious step toward me. Ethan, I didn't know. He lied to me. Derek manipulated me all those years ago. He made me take those files. You know how sweet he seemed back then. I was stupid. I was tricked. I couldn't help but laugh. It was the exact same tone she used in our first life right before she ruined everything. Tricked. I asked softly. Chloe, 6 years ago you threw me out like trash. You called me a penniless loser. Just 15 minutes ago you stomped on diapers meant for my daughter and dropped cash on the floor for me to clean up. I was emotional, she cried, tear tracks ruining her heavy makeup. I saw you and I got confused. Deep down, Ethan, I only ever did those things because I couldn't accept that I lost you. I kept your memory in my phone for 6 years. You know I never stopped thinking about you. Audrey stepped up beside me, placing a hand gently on my shoulder. She looked down at Chloe with pure, unadulterated pity. Miss Vance, or whatever your name is, Audrey said quietly. My husband spent 5 years giving you everything he had, and you repaid him by giving his hard work to a fraud. You didn't leave him because you were tricked. You left him because you were greedy. And today your greed finally caught up with you. By the next morning, news of Derek Vance's catastrophic downfall had hit the business wires. Summit Enterprises released an official press release stating that the GM of Grand Plaza had been terminated and faced severe legal liabilities for corporate fraud. Without his job, his stock options frozen, and his reputation in ashes, Derek's life unraveled at lightning speed. I was sitting in my top-floor corner office at the Grand Plaza Executive Building, signing off on the new GM candidate when my assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Carter, there's a couple down in the lobby demanding to see you. They say they're your former in-laws. I paused. Send them up. A minute later, Chloe's parents walked into my office. They looked older, tired, and deeply ashamed. Back in the previous timeline, these were decent people who had tried to save their daughter from her toxic obsession with Derek. Ethan, her father said, his voice raspy. We didn't know where else to turn. Mr. and Mrs. Reed, I said, gesturing to the armchairs across from my desk. Please sit. They sat down stiffly. Her mother wiped away a tear. Derek's bail was set at $200,000. He tried to claim Chloe was an accomplice in the IP theft to lighten his own sentence. He told the police she was the one who hacked your computer and handed him the files. Did, I said frankly. Her father hung his head. We know, she confessed to us last night. She begged us to use our retirement savings to hire a lawyer for her. Ethan, we disowned her this morning. You disowned her? I asked. We spent years trying to raise her right, her father said, his hands trembling. When she left you 6 years ago, we begged her not to go back to Derek. We saw what he was, but she wouldn't listen. She was addicted to the illusion of status he promised her. Now he's dragging her into prison with him, and she's crying that life is unfair. He looked at me with deep regret. We came here today not to ask for a favor, Ethan. We came to apologize. You were a good man to her, and she destroyed you back then. You built an incredible life, and we are glad you found happiness with a woman who actually deserves you. Thank you, Mr. Reed, I said quietly. I hold no grudge against you too. An hour after they left, my phone buzzed. It was a text notification from an unknown number, or rather, a new number sending a cash transfer app request. It was Chloe. Ethan, please. Derek turned on me. The police are investigating me as an accomplice. I don't have money for a lawyer. Derek spent all our savings on his luxury lease and engagement party deposits. Please, I know you still care about me. Just pay for my lawyer, I'll do anything. I'll leave town, I'll never show my face again. Please answer me. I looked at the message. Then I pulled up the transfer request for the $1,500 phone she owed me. I hit decline. Then I typed out a single reply. I told you yesterday. The second the debt was settled, I was blocking you. Consider the debt paid by your fraud conviction. I blocked the number. 6 months later. The summer afternoon was warm and clear as Audrey, and I sat on the patio of our estate overlooking the bay. Our daughter Lily was chasing a golden retriever puppy across the lawn, her laughter ringing out across the garden. Audrey set down her tea and looked over at me with a warm, knowing smile. Legal called this morning. The trial concluded? I asked, taking a sip of my coffee. Derek got 8 years for corporate espionage, grand larceny and fraud. Chloe received 3 years probation and 500 hours of community service as an accessory, plus full restitution damages that will dock her wages for the next decade. I nodded slowly, feeling a deep, profound sense of quiet settle into my chest. In my first life, Chloe had dragged us all into a nightmare of blood, obsession and death on a church altar. She had been consumed by a man who was nothing more than a thief, and in the end, she took 3 lives with her. In this life, I didn't chase her. I didn't beg. I simply let her march straight into the pit she dug for herself while I built a life filled with genuine love, trust and real success. What are you thinking about? Audrey asked softly, reaching across the table to lay her hand over mine. I looked at my wife, the woman who had stood by me, believed in me and built an empire with me, and then at our daughter playing on the grass. Nothing, I smiled, squeezing her hand tight. Just thinking that for the first time in 2 lifetimes, everything is exactly where it belongs.